I've been very busy this week working on the barn repairs, minding the animals, prepping garlic for the shops, a little bit of busking just for fun, and working on my giant wheel. I'm making a giant wheel because I hope it will grind charcoal and other things for me when it's finished. As always, the challenge is to keep it simple and not spend too much money. So far, there's only a frame for the axle to sit on, but it's a mighty frame. The next job is to start building up the wheel itself, starting in the middle. I drew many variations to try to figure out what to build and how to build it, how many spokes, how big, how long. In the end, I decided on 10 spokes per side, made from angle iron, partly for stiffness and partly so I could easily add cross pieces between them. So I drew up this shape for the hub discs, 2 16mm holes for each spoke, and cut them out of 6mm steel plate on the plasma cutter. Plasma cut holes are only really round if they're a few inches across, so small ones like these need truing up a bit with a cone drill. Okay, how does that fit? Ooh. Looks pretty good, doesn't it? Okay. So how are we going to keep it on the axle?
Oh, I just can't think of any good way.
Okay, well, because at the moment, yeah, we could just weld that on there, couldn't we? But that would be hard to weld onto, apparently. So then, we have one of those. A sprocket with a taper lock seemed to be the cheapest way of joining the wheel to the shaft, and it should be removable if necessary. We'll weld this on here. The sprocket teeth won't be used, it's just that I couldn't find a boss without them.
Oh, what about?
What about if we put bolts through it?
That sounds like a good idea.
Even the mighty will make mistakes sometimes.
I do that every time. Sometimes with a TIG welder, sometimes I do it for a long time. I'm like, why is it only sparking?
We tacked the disc to the sprocket so it would stay in place while the holes are drilled. Yeah, at least one bolt, yeah, well. How many bolts? 3, 4, 5? 5!
5.
If only we had some sort of precision drill.
Brought to you by Vivor.
Bum-ba-lum. With the mag drill, it's turning out to be a surprisingly useful tool. Which way round they should be?
Yeah.
Probably the nuts on the outside. Does smell like chicken fat, doesn't it?
Sure does.
Meaty. It's great, isn't it? Okay.
There's nothing. That's not coming from there anyway. No.
It's just the axle moving in the bearings, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty good there.
Ooh. So now the hub's in position, I spent a long time figuring out how to make the spokes. You'd think that they'd be simple, wouldn't you? But they're not really, mostly because they need bending in 2 places to get the right shape, and bending angle iron isn't that easy, obviously. They need to be bent because I'm making the wheel narrower at the outside than it is in the middle, which should keep it rigid. So each spoke needs a big lump taken out of it, a slot in one side and 3 holes on one face and 4 holes on the other face, all in the right places of course, and there are 20 spokes altogether in matching pairs. After spending hours on the first few, measuring and drilling and grinding, I moved on to the plasma cutter for the rest of them. Plasma cutters are not super accurate, but whatever you get, you can get it over and over again. All I have to do is keep putting the spokes in exactly the same position. I made a simple wooden jig to hold the angle iron upright, which of course quickly caught fire. I was going to keep throwing water at it, as I usually do, but instead I cut a pair of metal jigs that can hold the angle in either position. So then I could make the cuts and slots and holes on one side over and over again, and then flip the angle iron to do the other face. Until I had all 20 spokes done, with 140 holes of 3 different diameters. Again, I needed to clean the holes and clean up the edges and bend each spoke twice. This is one of the reasons this video took so long. The spokes took days to get ready. Then I could start bolting them into place. And the funny thing was that the more spokes that went in, the more alive this wheel became. One rusty, crude lump of steel at a time. Finally, the last one went on, and already it wants to keep spinning round and round.
Right then.
Each of these spokes weighs around 4 kilograms, so with the bolts and the hubs, I'm sure the wheel already weighs 100 kilograms. But I'm not finished with them yet. I cut out 10 gusset plates. Well, I tried, but the weather was so wild and wet, I just couldn't keep the plasma cutter working properly. It hates wet weather. I had to give up after getting through 3 tips in 20 minutes. But I finished them this morning, so that's a relief. The gussets hold each pair of spokes at the correct angles with a bit of persuasion. And there will be lots of sideways pressure on the wheel when it's grinding something. So I hope these gussets will also keep the spokes straight. What do you think? The fellows that go on the outside should help hold the wheel in shape too. The plan is they'll be made from huge lumps of wood, bolted somehow onto the ends of the spokes to make a giant rim. The weight of this thing going round and round when it's finished is going to be awe-inspiring and maybe a little scary. Or maybe a lot scary. We'll have to see. Next job, the fellows. Can't wait to get on with those.